Hey, what's up, Roxstars? It's Rox with a little bit of talk about what's at the top of the blog. So let's get to it. I say I'm gonna take some time off, y'all. All the cashiers, they was like, somebody stole her truck. It's like you can hear it all throughout the store. This Rox coming to you today with a review for Love and Marriage Detroit, Love and Marriage Huntsville, our book 4, Real Housewives of Atlanta. Let's get to it, shall we? All right, you guys, first story up. So Mahogany Medlock Brown, does that name sound familiar to you guys? Maybe it doesn't, but I'm gonna let you know who she is. She was a praise dancer in Macedonia Worship Center where Cassandra Pope, first giving honor to God, who is the head of my life. Cassandra Pope, she's the co-pastor along with her husband, pastor, what is his name? Oh, I didn't get her husband's name, but anyway, her husband and she are the pastors of this church. They had some praise dancers, okay? And Mahogany Medlock Brown was one of the praise dancers. Apparently, Mahogany went up to co-pastor Cassandra Pope and gave her a hug, okay? Went on to perform her praise dancing duties, and as she stood there behind them and the church was getting kind of enveloped in the spirit and everything, it sounded like the spirit was about to get high, co-pastor Pope, she said, hold on. She had to bring it down because she wanted to make it clear to everybody that Mahogany Medlock Brown, the praise dancer, had hugged her wrong, that the energy was wrong. And she didn't like that. Okay? And that she needed to bring it to everybody's attention that they was not going to be playing with these kind of things in the church. Okay? That's not of God and all of this. Now, I don't know. You guys, things like this happens in the church. We've seen these things where, you know, the pastors will bully the congregation or bully the choir members or bully the deacons or the deaconess. Like, we've seen that, you know, sometimes when pastors of churches have this unchecked power, okay, it's a big church, everybody loves them and everything, then they start to feel like anytime they feel like anybody does something to cross them, then they want to embarrass them. They want to, like, I've seen these things happen. It's never right, okay? If she had a problem with what this girl had done, then she needed to have addressed her privately and not in front of the congregation like that, okay? Not only that, but the girl didn't look like she had did anything wrong with these hugs. She actually hugged everybody on the praise team as the pastor was blasting her in front of the congregation. She went on and gave everybody a hug up there and she walked off. And then she actually went onto social media and complained about how her pastor like singled her out and made her feel that way, and that something needs to be done about that, you know, in the church. I mean, there's never going to be nothing done about that because it just depends on the personality of the pastor of the church. Some of them do that. Some of them feel like they can speak and treat their members that way, you know. It's when the respect for your members go away and you start to feel like, oh, I am the head honcho. It happens, you guys. It really, truly happens. And that's why the church is kind of where it is today. That's why a lot of people don't like to go to church today, because they've been made to feel like an outcast, you know, and it was because of the personal feelings of the pastor instead of, you know, maybe they felt like they just felt bad for their, you know, like, you should not be not going to church because the way your pastor makes you feel, okay? Like, your pastor's job is to lead the flock and to bring you in. Yes, I know that pastors have to guide you, and, you know, they may say some things that are right that might still upset you. But in a situation like this, that pastor was dead wrong, okay, to do that to that lady. And, again, that's the reason why a lot of people just don't fuck with the church no more, and it's sad, but it's true. Okay, I hated that for the Mahogany. I hated that for the Mahogany thing, because to me the pastor just looked like she was childish, and maybe she just, I mean, it could be something as simple as she just don't like mahogany because mahogany could be shapely, or maybe her husband has commented on it. Maybe she seen, the men checking her out, or, maybe it could be so many reasons that are not of God for the reason why this woman singled that lady out. So that's the reason why I had a problem with it. That's the reason why a lot of people had the problem with it. And, that's why Cassandra Pope was dragged on social media. Okay, I need people to do things correct and in the right order. If she had a problem with her, she should have said something and handled it that way. All right, but blasting in front of church is never a good thing. All right, Mahogany Medlock Brown, hold your head up. Okay, and I guess Cassandra Pope and her husband, maybe they might have learned a lesson today. Or maybe they didn't, because a lot of times those pastors and shit at these churches, they be like, I said what I said and that's it. So that's that on that, you guys. Let's move on to the next story. Kiki Wyatt's son, Raja Key Morton, is 23 years old. And the other day, he decided to do a TikTok challenge. You guys remember the TikTok challenge where you would be like, put a finger down if such and such, okay? If something like that happened to you, you would put a finger down. Well, what's his name? Raja Key Morton. Where the fuck did she get these names right? Anyway, Raja Key Morton did that, and he said, I'm going to paraphrase for you, but he basically said, put a finger down if you had a mother that was on a reality show that went and made the announcement that you had cancer on the show and supported you publicly on the show, but in private said that God was punishing you, that it was your karma to get cancer because you are part of the alphabet community, and God is probably getting back at you because he don't like that shit, basically. Okay, and she felt a different way in private than she does publicly. That's pretty much what Raja Key Morton was trying to say, Listen, now, I love Kiki Wyatt, but I know Kiki Wyatt has her issues. She's probably one of those people that you would need to love from a distance, okay? But I watched Kiki's reality shows years ago, and we know I watched her on R&B Divas, and I watched her on her own show. So we know that Kiki Wyatt ain't never been wrapped the most tightest. That voice is a blessing from God, child. I mean, you will never deny that. But up in here, it's just what it is, y'all. Raja, I believe, is her son from her first husband. And you guys know the story with the first husband. That was when she tried to kill, right? Okay. All right. So I'm just letting you know, Kiki has had 3 husbands. She has, 18 kids? How many kids was it? Am I exaggerating? I'm sorry if I am. But I think that girl has somewhere around 15 kids or something like that, you guys. And she ain't quite got it right all the time. So I wasn't surprised when he said that. Yeah, I believed him. And Kiki didn't really deny that she said that. In her comment, when she was responding to it, she said this: I love my son and I love all of my children. I love all people. Anyone who truly knows me understands there is not a homophobic bone in my body. Like any parent, every day is not sunshine, but my love for my children never changes. I kindly ask that you respect our family, keep us in your prayers, and allow us the privacy to move forward in peace. Okay, so that was her way of saying, yeah, I said it. Maybe I shouldn't have said it. Maybe I was mad when I said it, but I felt like she wasn't denying that she said it, but she's just like, listen, there's just a whole lot to this story. Me and my family, all the, she may have said some things. So, I believe that she could have said it, but, yeah, that's too bad, that she might have been using the situation. I don't know. I know that Kiki has a lot going on, though. She has a child that's very ill. She's had a lot of kids that have had sicknesses, now that I think about it. Because I feel like there was one more child. Wasn't there another child that had cancer? I don't want to put that on them, but I believe that she's had a few kids that have had some illnesses. Child, what can you say? People, families fight, and mothers and sons and daughters, it just always is something. But yeah, I believe that Kiki did say those things. Maybe she probably regrets saying it, but I believe she did. All right, let's move on to the very next story. All right, you guys, let's talk about Young Thug and Mariah Scientist and all of that mess that happened since the last time I did the top of the box. I mean, it was hot even last week when I was talking about it, because they were leaking all these audio tapes of the conversations that Young Thug, mama named him Jeffrey Wright, was having while he was in jail. You guys know that those audio tapes, those were leaked. The jails record you when you talk on the phone. Everybody knows that, you know. I feel like Thug was talking on that phone because, one, he probably didn't feel like he was getting out of jail no time soon, so it didn't even matter to him. And secondly, he just was salty, which, you know, I told you guys last week, you know, when you dealing with somebody that is in jail, that person is not the same person that you was dealing with when they had their freedom. When they are in jail, a lot of people turn very bitter. A lot of people turn very hateful. A lot of, you know, because the circumstances, the environment that they in, it does not lend for them to just be happy-go-lucky. And, you know, some people are fine in jail, but other people change, okay? And so that's why I was like last week, you know, maybe we can give him some grace. But the thing is, no, Thug was in that jail just running his mouth, and didn't care about the consequences of people that could get to hear. Like, he got too comfortable, you know, and he clearly made somebody mad. They really wanted people to know what he was saying in there. They wanted to cause problems for him. That's exactly what has happened for him. I mean, even his relationship with Mariah the Scientist has suffered. Supposedly, them two have broken up, hopefully for good. Okay, we're going to talk about Mariah the Scientist in a minute, but let's just finish up on Young Thug. I feel like Young Thug is going out so sad. Like, I thought that he was going to come out of jail and he was going to hit the ground running, like he had all this, you know, passion that he wanted to make sure that when he got back out there, you know, he was about to put his music out and all that. Like, I expected him to do that. That's what I thought we was going to get. What we instead got is now him trying to scramble behind these fucking audio tapes that they have leaked of his shit that he's saying, that's making it harder for him to really, like, people now are so mad at Thug. I don't even know that he put out something. He has put out some music, but nothing that I've felt like was up to the same standards of the Young Thug music before he went to jail. You know, he put out something I heard just recently. I was like, what is this? What is he saying? You guys, I was never really a big Young Thug fan. When he first came out, I didn't like him because I didn't like how he was treating Lil Wayne. I felt like he was really biting off of Lil Wayne, and he was refusing to admit it, okay? And I didn't like the fact that it was feeling like Cash Money was starting to kind of feel something for him. Like, it felt like, it just felt like Young Thug was really coming for Lil Wayne's head. And, you know, Lil Wayne, even though I don't know what the fuck Lil Wayne on today, child, I still love Lil Wayne. I still love his old music. And this hard rock Lil Wayne I cannot get into. And I even like some hard rock. There's only a couple of songs, but there's some hard rock songs that I can listen to. But I can't do nothing that Lil Wayne, I don't know what the fuck he on over there. It's like heavy metal acid type rock I can't do. But still, I was just like, no, nigga, you was biting off of Lil Wayne and everybody knows it. But then Joe was a huge Young Thug fan. He loved Young Thug, and he would be like, Mom, you just have to listen to his music. Like, he's so talented, and he uses his voice like an instrument. Like, it's not just him rapping. It's just he does things with his voice that actually makes it sound like it could be an instrument. And so when Joe started telling me them kind of things, I was just like listening to his songs and listening to his voice. And, you know, he makes weird sounds. So I kind of understood what Joe was saying. And then I kind of liked the fact that he was pushing the envelope. He was kind of eclectic, you know, and he was doing this. So then I started to be like, okay, I'm kind of feeling Young Thug. He's still not quite for me, but, you know, I can appreciate, you know, the creative part of him and doing what he did, you know. So then I started to kind of like him. And then, you know, he would do music with like, he would do music with like Rich Homie Quan, you know, of course, still rest in peace to Rich Homie Quan. It hurts my heart that man is dead. the music, the good times that I've had to Rich Homie Quan's music is unparalleled, you guys. It just brings back a happy time in my life, of a time when I was really having a bad time, but his music would make me have a good time. So it's like, it's a lot of memories that surround Rich Homie Quan and his music. But anyway, getting back on track. So, I started to like him and everything, and then when he went to jail, I was like, damn. And then it was looking like he was getting railroaded in jail, so I was kind of rooting for Thug a little bit and feeling like, are they really trying to pin a lot of shit on him? I mean, maybe Thug might have been outside, he might have been outside, but they didn't really have the proof that they were making it seem like they had. So then it was like, kind of rooting for him to get out and all. Then when he said he was gonna be right, and he just want to get out and he want to do things and all that, I was just like, okay, Thug. And then when he came out, he just turned into this, and it's like, it's a little bit of a disappointment for me, so yeah. And this, he just feels like he is still very bitter from how much the music industry changed just from those few. He wasn't even there a couple of years, just from those months. He was only in there a year and a half, right? But that's a long time when it comes to the industry. And the shit done slipped through his fingers, and now he just bitter and mad over there, it feels like, Now, as far as Mariah the Scientist is, I know you guys already know what my stance is going to be on this, okay? If you don't, then you probably just don't know me. But I'm not going to be hard on Mariah the Scientist like that. Okay, and I still listen, or I did. Y'all, thank you for telling me the story about Mariah the Scientist, how she got her name. She was in school. She got a scholarship to go study some sort of sciences somewhere. I don't know what it was. I think it was in the medical field. But, she had gotten a scholarship, and she's very smart. And she decided to pursue her passion of singing. And that's why she came up with Mariah the Scientist, as a ode to her former life of wanting to be a doctor or whatever. I got all that, and I love that story. I honestly do, you guys. But I still think the name is stupid, and I think it's childish and juvenile, and I think eventually she's gonna need to change it. Okay, because what we gonna be saying when she's 65 years old, and we gonna still be calling her Mariah the Scientist when she's doing these legendary she would want to be on the strength of the Gladys Knights and the Patti LaBelle's and all this. When she gets old, we still gonna be calling her Mariah the Scientist? That's stupid. Okay, so that's it. All right, I'm done with it. Y'all ain't gotta keep talking. I'm not gonna be hard on Mariah the Scientist. Yes, she's 27 years old. That's old enough to know better. But I can tell you guys that I can remember a time when I have been stupid for a man. I've told you guys this in the past. We ain't got to get into details. Just know that Roxanne been a fool for a nigga or two in her past life. Okay? And I just know that this girl thought that she was going to be able to change or turn him into something that he was never ever going to be. Okay, and yes, that is naivete. Some people call it stupidity. It might be a lot of those things, but my feeling is a lot of times people just have to get to that place. You can tell somebody something over and over and over and over and over again. They can look the fool, because promise you, Roxanne has looked the fool. Like, I look back today and be like, Roxanne, what the fuck was you on when you was dealing with this nigga? Okay, so. But when you are in the chaos of a toxic relationship, and you just want it to work so hard and so bad, you compromise yourself so much. You make yourself look so stupid in the guise of, I'm in love with this person. But we know that is something that a person has to get to on their own before they realize that this nigga is just like any old other nigga off the streets who is for the streets. Because Mariah needed to know that this man was not for her. He was for the streets. He's for everybody. Okay? The things that he said, she needed to know. All right? So I feel bad for her, because now everybody, I don't know how this turned into Mariah, you stupid, and that's what you get for staying. Like, why is everybody mad at Mariah for the shit that Thug did? See, that's what happens when a lot of people be hard on the women for staying, but not necessarily what the nigga did. All right? And so that's why everybody is so hard on. But I feel sorry. I don't like when people do that. I don't like when people do that to women. I feel like there's a lesson in everything, and you could really just explain to somebody, say, you see how that worked out? Okay. How many times do you want to look like that again? If you don't want to look like that again, then don't let it happen. Instead of saying like, well, you stupid, and that's why that shit happened to you, because why you think this nigga gonna be faithful to you? He like, you know, when you going through it, you don't need nobody to pour extra salt into the wound, but you do need somebody that is going to talk to you and just be like, okay, well, now you see how things can turn out. And if you respect yourself and all the things that you want to do, then you would now realize that you cannot allow this person to keep treating you this way and making you look this stupid in the public eye. Okay? So that's something that Mariah's going to have with herself. But I just hate that of so many people. And there's been a lot of women that have just been super, super hard on her. And I was just like, damn, but I think people just forget when they was stupid and silly. Now, you know, 27 is you old enough now. So now we can't keep on saying you know she was young. But in the grand scheme of things, 27 is still, like, she got with him when she was like 24, 23, 24, like still in that really kind of almost still stupid stage, you know. As she got to 20, and you know, as she gets older, she realizes that, okay, now I can't keep moving this way, you know. Hopefully that's where she is now. But yeah, I don't like when people, but I am saying, no, Mariah, to quit fucking with him. Leave him alone, girl. There's somebody out there better for you. All right. You blocking your own blessings from dealing with this nigga that's always in your face. And, you know, I'm sorry. Like somebody said, anytime a nigga say that you deserve better, okay, take him up on that and go get you better. Because when a nigga say that, they know they full of shit. They already know. You ain't, you know, so they doing you a favor by saying something. Anytime a man, I tell Jada that anytime a man tells you that you deserve better, then you go get better. Okay? That's them doing you a favor. So hopefully that's where Mariah is. I hope that's where she is. And Thug ought to feel, he ought to feel really bad for how he treated that girl, made her look. Because if you at least had any kind of care for her, you know, you would have kind of curtailed on that jail phone talk. But he didn't think that shit was coming out. I don't think he thought he was getting out when he did. You know, when the shit started to look like it was falling apart, then that was one thing. But he probably was doing all that talking before, you know, before the trial even started, before, you know, we started seeing all of the shit fall apart. So, yeah, y'all quit being so hard on that girl. I mean, everybody, not everybody, but a lot of us have been stupid in the past. And guess what? We better today because we finally bumped our head enough. And hopefully Mariah bumped her fucking head enough, girl. Get you a new man and change that fucking name. Lastly, you guys, Giselle and Robin, you guys know they still have their podcast, Reasonably Shady, and they still talk about whatever topics that they talk about on podcasts, okay? Recently, they were discussing Real Housewives. They were talking about Bravo and the fact that Bravo must be running out of people to put in their shows because there was once upon a time when the networks, well, the reality shows didn't used to cross-pollinate, you know. They definitely did not jump networks. So if you had somebody that was on the Love and Hip Hop franchise, they stayed within the Love and Hip Hop franchise. Before, they stayed on their show, but then within the franchise, they would jump from city to city. So, you know, you would have people that was in Atlanta, that was in New York, or in New York and Miami, and, you know, all of those things. But now, they will jump networks completely. All right. But back in the day, that was not a thing. It was unheard of. And it was weird to think that somebody would try to go from, say, Love and Hip Hop to a Real Housewives of Atlanta. But we are there today. We do it now. And mostly because reality shows are no longer reality. You know, it's now scripted. So now you just have somebody that goes on to a new show and they just fall into the script. Okay. And then they just go on to that show. It's still not widely done, but they're starting to do it more and more. So now we have K. Michelle that's going on to Real Housewives of Atlanta. We already know that. Her and Pinky, who is the slutty vegan CEO, the owner, and all that out here, they're going to be on that show. And then we know that Angel from Basketball Wives. Is it Angel Brinks? Was that her last name? I think she got married, but I think her last name was Angel Brinks when I was watching the show. I'm sorry. What is happening? Anyway, you guys, I am so sorry. She was on Basketball Wives. She was a nurse, remember? And then she was on the show and all that. Not Angel Brinks. What was her last name? Angel. Anyway, she was on Basketball Wives. Now she's made the leap to Married to Medicine out here. And so Robin and Giselle, when they were talking on their podcast, you know, Robin was talking about the fact that maybe Bravo is running out of people to pick from, because now they picking up people that have been known to be on other shows, on other networks. I don't think Robin wasn't being nothing. She was just commenting on what happened. You know, she talked about K Michelle and how K Michelle came from Love and Hip Hop. But even before K Michelle was on Love and Hip Hop, you know, she was somebody, you know, so to just see her going from all these different shows, I guess Robin was just commenting on that. Now, Giselle didn't agree with her, and Giselle was just like, oh, I think this is a good thing for K Michelle. You know, I think that Giselle said that because Giselle did not feel like getting caught up in no shit, you know, getting into some back and forth with K Michelle. One, she already knows how K Michelle is. Two, she's still on a Real Housewives show. Robin said what she said because Robin don't care. Robin's not on the show. You know, she's not on Bravo at all. So Robin is going to speak however she wants. But again, I don't think that Robin was trying to be messy. What I think is that most people don't like Robin. So your immediate gut reaction is to come back at Robin and say something. I think that's what K Michelle did. I think that if K Michelle really thought about what Robin said, which she didn't say anything necessarily bad about K Michelle, that K Michelle would have probably not reacted the way that she did. But that's some of the things that K Michelle does. You know, she kind of reacts first and then maybe she might think about it a little bit later. But we also have to know that K Michelle, I have been seeing the chatter in the Instagram comments and stuff when people talk about K Michelle being on Real Housewives Atlanta, and people will say things like, not K Michelle from Love and Hip Hop. Like, you know, she's like, that's not on the caliber of the women that they would put on Real Housewives Atlanta. I have been seeing them say that. So I'm sure if I'm seeing it, I'm sure she's seeing it. And that's probably made her defensive. Okay. And so when she saw Robin saying that, that's probably why she reacted to her. I'm going to tell you what K Michelle said. In her very much K Michelle way. Listen, let me read it. Hold on. I got my glasses, child, because Why be so worried about me and my overly educated and successful self and what I might be doing? Robin, you ran out of a job a long time ago. You would love to be recycled, you little couch potato, just yapping. You should have ran through that hotel lobby where your husband was, lady. Giselle, you look beautiful. That's why Giselle said what she said. Made sure she escaped that wrath of K Michelle. But she said, leave me alone and let me go yodel in peace. Then she goes on and says, I'm around here selling out shows and you selling baseball hats, but you worried about me and what I might be doing. The nerve of this couch potato. And child, you know, K Michelle, one thing you're going to say that child is not. She is not afraid to approach people and tell them about themselves, okay? She will always read you down, all right? But this time I was like, K, now you didn't have to eat her up like that. You didn't have to eat her up and roll her up like that, because I don't think that Robin meant it that way. But it's just so many people that don't like Robin. And you know, we love a good read, which is why K Michelle is going to do well on Real Housewives of Atlanta, because that show has become synonymous of wanting to know how, you know, wanting to be like a read type show. Andy loves the fact that there's black women on there that just read people down for days, you know. And the girls on Atlanta, they are at a higher echelon of shade than Potomac. They are upper echelon, upper level shade show, you know. So K Michelle's gonna do fine on Real Housewives of Atlanta. I can't wait to see the dynamic between the two. Okay, because Pinky and K Michelle have real business. I mean, they all have real businesses now, but they came in real, and the other girls have built their platforms from Real Housewives of Atlanta. So is different for K Michelle and Pinky, and I want to see that on the show as well. Okay, and Angel, even though I don't watch Married to Medicine, you know, they must think that she's a good fit for the show. I guess she's dating somebody or married to somebody that is in medicine or some sort of I'm thinking that's, or she has to have some sort of connection to him. My tooth is hurting. How you doing? Everybody is just walking by today, you guys. I'm gonna have to hurry up and get off of here, but yeah, that's pretty much it. That's how I feel about it. Like, hey, I felt like, you know, she probably had that gut jump reaction. Maybe she could, if she would have chilled a little bit, maybe she would have kind of realized that Robin wasn't trying to be like that with her. But I'm gonna just tell everybody to learn how to pick your battles, and maybe just leave K Michelle alone. Okay, just leave her alone. All right, because she gonna say some shit that you ain't gonna like. And, you know, people gonna laugh and everything. Is just leave the girl alone. Let her be over there on that show. And let that be that. But, no, I didn't think Robin meant it the way that, you know, people were making it. But it was funny to see what K Michelle is a fucking spitfire, ain't she? All right, you guys, that is it. I'm going to get on off of here because everybody's walking by my car and looking. Okay, we do this every single week, though. Make sure you thumbs up the video, comment, and subscribe, and make sure you come back. Till next time, Roxstars. Bye.